Okay, let's dive in then. We've got this collection of notes, articles, tips, all focused on visiting Istanbul.
Absolutely. And we're honing in specifically on the material you sent over, looking at some, common challenges visitors face and how to make the trip, well, smoother.
Right. Our goal here is pretty straightforward. Take these notes you've gathered, unpack them, and pull out the really practical stuff. Basically, a guide to dodging potential issues and making the most of your time there.
Because Istanbul is, it's incredible. East meets West, history everywhere.
Yeah,
But yeah, like any big city popular with tourists, there are quirks. Knowing them helps.
definitely. So, based on these notes, what's the very first thing that jumps out? What should people watch out for?
Well, right near the top of the list of this material is taxis. Taxi issues seem to be a really common headache for tourists.
Yeah, I saw that. And it's not just a vague be careful, is it? The notes seem to get quite specific about the tactics.
That's right. It details things like drivers taking, the long way around on purpose, or just flat out refusing to use the meter, sometimes claiming it's broken.
Hmm.
And even, worryingly, mentions the possibility of getting counterfeit notes back as change.
Wow, counterfeit money.
Yeah.
That's a whole other level of scam to worry about.
Yeah.
So, what do the notes say to do about it? What are the recommended steps?
The advice is pretty clear. Only use the official licensed yellow taxis, and always, always insist they turn the meter on right at the start. No excuses.
And it mentioned something about taxis waiting near tourist spots, like be extra cautious there.
Exactly. Taxis just hanging around places like Sultanahmet or Taksim Square.
Hmm.
The notes suggest they might be more likely to try and charge inflated tourist prices. Be a bit wary there.
So, are there better options mentioned? Alternatives?
Yes, thankfully. The notes point to ride-hailing apps. But taxi and Uber are mentioned specifically, noting they're legal there and widely used, which gives you a more predictable fare, usually.
Okay. And I like this little practical tip in the notes. Using Google Maps yourself.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Before you even get in, check the route on your phone. You can even screenshot it and show the driver. It kind of signals, hey, I know roughly where we're going, which might just discourage any detours.
Smart. Just a little nudge. Okay, so transportation is one thing, but money. Exchanging currency seems like another big point in these notes.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the material is very direct about where not to exchange your money. Basically, avoid the airport and hotels if you can. The rates are usually the worst.
Right. And definitely don't fall for someone on the street offering a rate that sounds too good to be true. Classic warning sign.
Absolutely, avoid that. The recommendation is to stick to the official exchange offices. They're called duviz in Turkey.
Duviz. Got it. And the notes suggest looking in specific areas.
Yeah, they mention places like around the Grand Bazaar or near the Sirkeci train station areas having lots of reputable duviz offices so you can actually compare rates.
Ah, compare rates. That's key. Some might not charge commission. Is that right?
Exactly. Some do, some don't, so it pays to look at a couple. And, just doing a quick check online for the day's official exchange rate beforehand gives you a benchmark. Smart moves suggested in the material.
Okay, but ATMs. We all use ATMs. There was a really specific warning about one type, wasn't there?
Oh, definitely. A big pro tip in these notes. Steer clear of the Euronet ATMs. They're often bright blue. The notes call their fees and exchange rates, well, pretty bad, often because of dynamic currency conversion or just high fees.
So the advice is find an ATM belonging to an actual Turkish bank instead.
Precisely. The notes list examples like Ziraat Bank, Halkbank, or Bank. Using those, you're much more likely to get a fair rate and avoid those extra, sometimes hidden charges. That one tip could genuinely save you a fair bit of cash.
Good to know. Right, moving on to actually doing things. Istanbul's got so much to offer, but the notes warn that some things aimed at tourists might be, well, not great value.
Yeah, the source material specifically flags certain, quote, Turkish night shows, or maybe some Bosphorus cruises sold very pushily on the street. Says they can be overpriced and maybe a bit low quality. Tourist traps, essentially.
So how do you avoid ending up at one of those and find something genuinely good?
The main advice here is book things in advance. Use verified online platforms or go through reputable local travel agencies. That way you can actually research what you're signing up for.
And check reviews, I guess, that's mentioned.
Absolutely crucial. The notes really emphasized using sites like Google, TripAdvisor, even checking out vlog reviews on YouTube to see what real people thought. Get some unbiased opinions.
Makes sense.
And also, just be a little cautious if someone comes up to you out of the blue, offering like a free guided tour or really trying to steer you into one particular shop. The notes suggest this could easily be a commission setup. They're not just being friendly.
So for those bigger experiences, like a Bosphorus dinner cruise or a proper cultural show, the advice is basically find trusted providers, look for clear itineraries, check those reviews, do your homework based on these warnings.
That sums it up perfectly.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Cultural respect. The notes really highlight this, don't they? How Istanbul blends the modern and traditional.
They really do. It's a key point. They emphasize that being mindful of local customs isn't just polite, it actually leads to a better experience overall.
It just makes sense, doesn't it? Show a bit of awareness, people respond better. So what specific things do the notes mention?
Well, particularly when visiting mosques, which you'll likely want to do.
Right, modest dress is important there.
Yes, essential. The notes specify covering shoulders and knees for everyone. Simple respect.
And taking your shoes off before going inside any mosque, that's a definite must-do.
Non-negotiable, yeah. Also, the notes mention being mindful about very public displays of affection, especially in more conservative areas of the city. Just being aware of your surroundings.
And what about Ramadan? If your trip happens to fall during Ramadan.
Good point. The notes advise being considerate. If people around you are fasting, try not to eat or drink really obviously right in front of them in crowded public places during fasting hours. It's just thoughtfulness. And the overall message from the notes is clear. This cultural sensitivity, it pays off in better interactions, warmer welcomes, richer memories.
Yeah, it's about connection, not just ticking boxes.
And finally, let's talk basic safety. The notes are reassuring, saying Istanbul is generally safe. But
like any huge city, you need to keep your wits about you for petty crime, pickpockets and things like that.
exactly. The material points specifically to very crowded places like Istiklal Street, maybe the Grand Bazaar, or busy trams and ferries as spots where you need to be extra vigilant about pickpocketing or bag snatching.
Okay, so standard precautions apply. What do the notes specifically reiterate?
Well, the classic advice, keep valuables secure. A money belt, maybe? Or a hidden pouch? That's mentioned.
And don't flash the cash, or expensive jewelry or big cameras.
Right. Don't make yourself an obvious target. Be discreet. And another warning is about being cautious with overly friendly strangers who seem too keen to help or invite you somewhere.
The potential scams, like being lured into a bar or tea house.
Yes, the notes mention that specific scenario. You go in, have a drink, maybe chat, and then get hit with a ridiculously inflated bill. So just maintain a healthy level of skepticism with sudden best friends.
And generally staying aware of who and what's around you, especially after dark. Just basic city smarts.
Basic city smarts, exactly. Oh, and one more really simple practical tip from the notes. Always have your hotel's address written down clearly or save somewhere obvious on your phone.
Yeah. Lifesaver if you get lost or need a taxi driver who doesn't speak much English.
Totally. Makes things so much easier.
All right. So we've really pulled apart these notes you shared. Seems like we've got some solid, actionable takeaways for anyone heading to Istanbul.
I think so. These points on taxis, money, avoiding the tourist traps, respecting the culture, and just basic safety, all drawn straight from the source material you provided. They really do give you a toolkit for a much smoother, probably more rewarding trip. Being prepared with this stuff makes a difference.
It really does. And it makes you think, doesn't it? All these seemingly small tips, where to change money, what to wear to a mosque, which ATM to use, they're not just about dodging problems.
No, they're more than that.
They're kind of about engaging with the place properly, aren't they? Building a bit of trust, maybe making more genuine connections because you're showing you've made an effort.
That's a great way to put it, which leads to a final thought, perhaps, for
Yeah.
you listening. Thinking about all this, what does being a truly respectful and street-smart traveler actually mean to you, especially in a city as rich and complex as Istanbul? Something to ponder.